Welcome back, everybody, to Unwritten with Thomas Malpass. In today's episode, I talked to Anna Maria Wright, a young 19-year-old up-and-coming actress who's been through a lot, actually, in her short life as a teenager. She's been homeschooled. She speaks about that. She speaks about being 4% introverted. She also talks about navigating trials and tribulations and keeping faith during hard times in her life. We also go over a post about Emilia Clarke and her take on the acting career and how it's very, very hard and much more. Before we get into the episode, subscribe if you haven't already on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. And go ahead and give a good review, because it's my mission to give whoever listens more purpose and to ultimately live a more peaceful life. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Unwritten Podcast with your host, Thomas Malpass, where we are on a mission to help the world find more purpose, passion, and peace in their everyday lives. Through deep conversations and connection, tune in, because we are all on this journey of life together.
Time has been awesome. So actually, we gotta cut this out.
Oh yeah. I just hit record because before I actually start, because there might be little snippets I could clip for social media before the actual. I just like to record everything instead of being so strict about okay, hit record, action. No, I just like to just lean into it.
Yeah.
Instead of be so stern about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on some and it's you hit record and starts. So I was
Yeah.
It started, but I don't want to share this information with everybody yet, and it'll be coming soon. And if you look at my IMDb page, you'll see that I'm on it, but nobody knows unless they've been to my page.
Oh, can you tell me?
I can.
I'll cut it.
I can. And I mean, it's public information now, but yeah, the film was called Want Love, and I'm under an NDA, so I can't share too much, but that's public information, and I'm going to be playing the character Lexi Morgan, shooting this spring, so very excited about that. That's coming up pretty soon, and has a great storyline. And seems like it's going to be a great group of people to work with, so I'm very excited about that.
You know, a really good movie I was extremely impressed with that I recently watched, that I think it's going to be a cult classic for years to come. Have you heard of the movie Poor Things?
Yeah, I was actually trying to find that. I was trying to find it in theaters.
So
I think it's out now, so I want to go watch it because it looked really good.
It is, the cinematography, the acting, the story, the art, how it was done. It was just it's so good. Yeah, the way I describe it is a modern day Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the Frankenstein story of how do you know the Frankenstein story?
Yeah.
He brings this person to life and he's trying to train him to be human. It's kind of similar to that, where Emma Stone is the Frankenstein, and she's trying to learn how to be pretty much autonomous as a normal human. And it has a lot of her boobs as well. But yeah, I'll go ahead and start with my first question is, can you share some experiences growing up or your childhood or family life and that has led up to where you are now and why you ultimately decided to pursue this career that you're in now?
Yeah. Well, a little backstory of how I got into film. I actually started singing when I was like 7, and I think I might have told you this on a different
Yeah,
interview.
we talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started doing that. My mom's a singer. She did like competitive opera when she was in high school. And I was just, had a good voice and really liked to sing. So I joined like a semi professional children's choir when I was like 7, did that for a few years. Ended up having to be homeschooled when I was 12 because we lived an hour away from the nearest public school. So, luckily, there was a theater, a performing arts theater, that was doing the show Annie. And they had already closed the auditions, but my mom was able to get me an audition. And that was really like the first time that I did acting. But I really
When you were
didn't,
12.
yeah, I really didn't want to
Okay.
I really did not want to be homeschooled at all. But then my mom was like, wait a minute, there's this there's this musical happening. It's Annie, but it's only for homeschoolers. So like you have to be homeschooled, which was true.
Oh.
So that really helped me. I was like, okay, like I guess I'll be homeschooled if I can.
Wait, really? That was like the criteria?
Yeah, it was a theater specifically for homeschoolers. So we would
Oh,
have.
was it common in that area for people to be homeschooled or?
I'm not sure. Actually, that was like a different area that we hadn't lived in the state before, so I'm not sure, but there was that place there. So
Yeah.
my mom got me an audition. I'd never done theater before. I went in, did my audition, and then I got offered the role of Pepper, which is like crazy thinking about it now because I like had no, prior experience, and I got a speaking role for my first, show. So yeah, did that for about like 5 years. I really enjoyed my time in it. But then when COVID hit, I did this like online musical thing because I had moved once again, and I like was an hour away from like the closest theater or anything creative from like the town that I was in. So I did this online musical, and that really got me thinking about like what could film be like, because in that I had to like record myself doing like the performance. And so with that I got to practice blocking out my scenes. I like recorded my own music with my microphone and using GarageBand and learned all of those skills, and then just got to pick out my costume. Like just every aspect of putting this together was all in my hands, and it was very much different from like your normal musical theater experience. So yeah, when I was 16, I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I was like, do I want to go the Broadway route or the film route? Like I really want to get focused on what I want to do. And I was
Yeah.
kind of like, I think film would be really fun, and I think I'm kind of ready to take a break on the musical theater. I love singing, but like I'm pretty excited to like try this new thing. So yeah, I went
I
all
seen
in.
I seen your most recent singing post.
Yeah, I
It
actually.
reminds me of like you could tell like slightly that you have that like musical background in like a Broadway style.
Yeah, I was classically trained, so everything, which that one
Okay.
was a little usually with like pop songs, they're very like you slide all over in the notes, and for the classical style, it's like you hit the note. You don't slide into it. You hit the note every time. So I've kind of lost that a little bit with some of the more poppy music because this is not the style of it. So, but yeah, that was really fun, and I've actually been so busy with film. I do try and keep up my voice because I enjoy singing and I have a good voice. So I try and keep that up in case anything comes along. But really, I haven't sung in a while because I've been really busy with work stuff. But yeah, that's basically how I got started, and my family has been very supportive of this journey, and I do not think I'd
Yeah.
be where I was if they had not really supported me. Because once I told people I was like doing a
Yeah.
gap year after I graduated and like what I was doing it for, some
Oh, I
people,
did something similar.
yeah, oh really?
Yeah, when I graduated, it was like I didn't know what the heck I was gonna do. Like, I wasn't a big academic. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I wanted to get out of my hometown, which is in Dover, Delaware, and just just get out. And that's why I had ultimately joined the military, because I was just sold on it. I was like, oh, I could use it as a way to get out. Also, if I wanted to go to school, they help pay for school as well. and then see where I want to go from there.
Yeah, that was an
But
interesting
before
thing.
that, yeah, it was like I had turned 18 and I didn't really do anything I didn't join until I was almost 19, almost a year later.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing with me too, is like I really love school, and I've always been like, I was always really good at
Academic.
school. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always been an academic. And so that was kind of the interesting thing too, is I was like, college, like everybody's going like right after they graduate. And it
It's like
was,
the pipeline. Yeah, it's like you're like expected to.
yeah, it was a little hard. I mean, especially I feel like after being homeschooled too, there were certain aspects of, things that everybody else does that were really important to me to do. Like I wanted to do the proms, I wanted to have like, a senior graduation and like a senior party. Like those things were really important to me to still kind of get those experiences, even though I was homeschooled. So the decision to do a gap year had been coming, like I'd been working on being
How
able.
did you do that? How did
How,
you experience that being homeschooled?
Oh, okay. So yeah, for those things, there are. Well, I did classical conversations, so that we met up like once a week for like a whole school day, like you would in public school. And I was public schooled for like the first 6 years of my life, so I did have that experience. But yeah, we would meet up once a week, talk about everything that we did that week, go through math problems or like whatever, talk about what was coming in the next week. And so also with CC, they do have, there's things that are called like protocol. And so it's like a formal, but they're like, this is not a formal. They make it really clear
Yeah.
that it's not a formal, but it like kind of is. You like learn about etiquette and you like go to a fancy dinner or an opera or a dance or something. So we did those things, but then there's also groups like outside of classical conversations that have organizations together, like specifically for homeschoolers. So I was able to get involved with some of those and like attend some of the proms with my classmates.
Like homeschooler proms.
Yeah, it was actually really awesome. You might be like, what is a homeschool prom? But the one I did senior year, it was awesome. They had like crazy decorations. It was like all out. It was really fun. They did like a prom king and queen, so that was really fun. And just, yeah, I'm really happy I got to experience that.
I'm like the complete opposite. I went to public school, but I wasn't into any of that. I was like, I mean, I failed ninth grade. I was a rebel. I always skipped school. I was a pothead. Like, just complete opposite. I didn't want to have anything to do with school, and but I still had friends, and I never was a part of any, like, like you see in movies and stuff, people have cliques. Well, even in real life, you have like your jocks, your sports people, your music people, I was like not a part of any of those. I was like kind of floated along in high school. I had a little bit of friends in each group.
Yeah, I feel that too, because I've moved around a lot. So every time I move, I have to get to know different people and be thrown into like the culture of whichever state I'm living in, and the group dynamic of the classes. So I definitely understand that. I'm pretty social though, so I definitely was able to get into some of those groups, or at least have like a little bit in each. But yeah, I definitely get the kind of floating, because it does take time to get into that, and it takes time to get to know people and people to get to know you, and kind of be comfortable with you being there.
How do
I guess
you navigate that? Because I feel like you have to have some sort of an open mind and be respectful of other people, especially when you're traveling and seeing different cultures. And I seen on your Instagram, you said you're 4% introverted. What does that even mean? How did you find
How
out
did I
you're 4%
determine that?
introverted, or you just made that up?
I did not make it up. I have
Okay.
a real email with real results. I did the 16 personalities test,
Okay.
and they were like, you're 4% introverted, and you're 100% judging. Which, like, when I showed my family, they're
Wait,
like,
what does that mean?
so that was the question. It was like, so are you really judgmental of people? And I was like, what? And so no, it does not mean that you're
Yeah.
judgmental of people. It means that you it means that you're really accurate at like judging a person's character when you first meet them, which I was like, that has actually been really true. Like I'll meet somebody for the first time and then, or, the first interaction or whatever. And then I'm kind of thinking things, like everybody does, making an, impression on other people. And then kind of, if I'm like, I'm not really sure about that person, they seem a little like, or just maybe like they're not the nicest, or maybe they have like hidden intentions, and then like so then I kind of like don't hang out with them a lot, and then I like see it evolve right in front of me, and I was like, I was right about that. So I have a good judge of character.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Actually very intuitive. Do you think that just came naturally to you, or because that's like the problem when you don't have that character trait? When you get into relationships, you may not see all the red flags.
I think it's two things. Yeah, I think that being intuitive is, that's just being intuitive. But I also feel like it's important to, you not only can have that, but, because I could have a bad feeling about someone and be like, well, I still want to date them. Or, well, I still like, I'm bored or I'm lonely, so like I'm going to go hang out with these people. So it's really like, you have to use that information to really decide, what am I going to do with this? And then to make the choice, to be like, okay, am I going to, not hang out with these people because of this? Or am I just going to be like, whatever, I know it's not the best, but like, I just want to do it. So that's really where discipline has come in a lot for me too, because I've really found that just, I would rather like not have those people in my life than have some people to do things with, but then have it influence me negatively, because it's really important who's in your circle. And I was like, it was definitely hard sometimes, like, moving and being like, these are the only people here, and like, maybe I just want to like have friends, and then just being like, really having to decide just for me, and to be like, I'm not going to do that. Yes, it's hard sometimes, but in the end, like long-term thinking, it's great, because I've really kept to my values, my standards, and I've been able to level myself up and keep true to that, and not kind of give into the temporary of like, well, I don't like know anybody here yet, and like I know these people. So yeah, I think it's just being able to take action once you get kind of a sense of who those people are. And then it's just really a judgment call. But I really try and think about the long term and go, why would I want to be friends with them? And then be like, maybe it's just because I haven't met anybody else yet. And then go like, is that really the best choice? Am I really, do I want to become like these people? Because the people you hang out with influence you so much. And so that's really something that I looked at is, do I want to be doing the things they're doing? Do I want to be talking about other people the way that they are? Do I kind of like this as an uplifting? Are we talking about the things that, I want to grow in? Can I learn from them? Those are all really important things. And unfortunately, I've definitely been in circumstances where the answer was no. And so I had to decide to just not have any friends for that, period, to just really protect myself and my values. And it definitely was worth it in the end. It's hard, but just got to power through and keep the long-term vision.
Man, I think that takes a lot of courage and introspection. You're very introspective, especially for a proclaimed extroverted person. What else was that test? What else did it say? That was it?
No, it gave like a whole rundown on like everything. So it gave your extroverted, introverted levels. It gave your judging levels. It gave how like analytical you were. So I'm very analytical, and it did, I wasn't just gonna believe what it said. I was also I don't know who's making this, so I'm gonna check. But everything did seem pretty much in line with me. And then it also gave you like a list of like celebrities who are like you, public figures, so just so you could kind of see like what other people like had your same result. It also gave like relationship advice of like, you should probably date somebody with this type of a personality based on your results. So yeah, it's a cool rundown of everything.
What celebrity were you most like?
I don't know, I don't remember.
You didn't?
No. I didn't. I looked through that for like a minute, but I took the test a good bit ago, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, It still amazes me because how old are you?
I just turned 19.
You're still
I'm still
a
a teenager.
teenager, but you have like this introspection and wisdom of like somebody who's twice or triple your age.
Yeah, I
Where
get
do you
that a
think
lot.
that comes from?
I think how I was raised, my parents, um, just the people that they brought into our lives, the people that they hung out with, how they talked about everything was very, I would be around for like, if they would have meetings all the time about like, where do we want to go? What's our future look like? How do we get there? What things do we want to like improve upon and change? So I was always, kind of around that. And I think that really helped me see the long term, and we did have those discussions also as I got older. I was a part of those discussions, but I even remember being like 6 and 7 and like my parents like sitting on the couch like talking about what they want to do while my little brother and I were like running around, playing tag or something. So I think that's definitely a big thing. And then I've just, I've had a, a lot of interesting experiences. I think being homeschooled really, gave me a different perspective for sure on life, and like just really showed me that my time is my time versus like when I was in public school. I really, everything was kind of mandated, and I had to show up at this certain time and go to school for 8 hours, then do homework for 3 hours. And
Yeah.
being homeschooled, I was like, wait, like I can get all, like I know how many chapters I need to read. Like what if I try and get all of this done like today? And then I did it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know I could do that. Like I just had never
Yeah.
that had just been never given to me to decide how to do it. It had always just been like, the teachers are like, well, this is what you are doing today, instead of like, here's what you need to complete this week. You can do it whenever you want. And so that was really cool. And I've also been through a lot of crazy challenges at a pretty young age. So that definitely kind of forced me to mature, going through all of those trials. But for the better, used it to become
What
better.
that was a question I was gonna ask. What has been, because you are still young and you still have lots of trials and
Lots of
tribulations
life
to
to live.
live.
I'm excited.
I know I like some of my biggest trials and tribulations didn't come until my mid 20s. I'm 29 now, so that was like a couple years ago. I'm 10 years older than you. That's crazy. But yeah, some of mine didn't come until like my mid 20s. Um, but since you are young, what has been your biggest trials, tribulations, adversities in life so far, and how did you deal with them?
Sorry, I didn't want to do that into the microphone. I feel like, yeah, so my mom was really sick when I was around 6 years old, and we weren't really sure if she was gonna live or not. So that was a pretty stressful time. I didn't fully understand what was going on, but I knew there was just a lot of like fear, and my mom like couldn't walk
Stress, yeah.
anymore and was like on a cane, and then other people were kind of helping out to take care of us. And then she got better and she lived, so that was great. Obviously. But
Yeah.
then yeah, when I was like 12, my older brother got really insanely sick, and we didn't know what was happening, where it came from. And so that's really been the biggest trial of my life. We had, like a lot, it was like a lot of just emergencies and a lot of things that had to be taken care of like right then. And then half of like our family was split apart for a good bit of time waiting. My mom took my brother to a different state to go see like a specialist there to kind of figure out what was going on. So that was hard. Then we
Yeah.
all got back together and we all moved again. And so just kind of going through the unknown of that, and it was really like crisis emergency mode like every day. And then I was homeschooled, so there was like a lot of changes that happened, and nobody knew what was going on. So there, at times it didn't feel like there was a lot of support because there just wasn't time to be supported. There wasn't any time to really be like, what's happening? It was like, you just got to go do what you need to do right now, or like somebody's going to die. So definitely kind of like the emergency mode. So I I had to grow up pretty fast and just kind of take on a lot of responsibilities for myself. And then I also felt, I wanted to help my younger brother, as I have 3 brothers. So my oldest brother,
Wow.
my very oldest brother, he was like, I think graduating high school, getting ready for like college. And then my second to oldest brother, he was the one that was really sick, and got a lot of crazy diagnosis. And the doctors were like, he's going to live with you forever. And like, there's just no going back from this amount of like brain injury and damage that my brother got from somewhere we weren't sure at that time yet. And my parent, he was 16 when that happened. I was 12, and then my older brother was 16. And so they were like, he's 16, and this just came out of the blue. Like, we can always we can always like go do, I don't know, whatever, but like, we're going to try and figure out what's wrong instead of just accepting this. So that's really where the fight was trying to get him well, trying to figure out what was causing this. So yeah, figured out it was mold poisoning, and there was like a ton of black mold in the house we were in, and we have really weird genes, so like most people can detox from it, but we couldn't. So it's like a forever chemical almost in a way.
I've dealt with black mold. I had I didn't physically live with it for a prolonged period of time, but I had an old house that I used to rent out, and there was like a leak in the roof, and over like months it created black mold, and it was very expensive, but it had to be completely, like, the whole wall had to be destroyed and rebuilt.
Yeah, it is no fun, and especially with the kind that was in our house, we didn't even know that it was there because we couldn't see it. It was like in the air though, so it literally contaminated everything that we owned. So then from that, we moved, and we were like, if we take our stuff with us, we're just still going to be sick. So we got rid of everything that we owned, got a new house, moved across the country, and there was another specialist there, so that's one of the reasons we moved. So yeah, anyway, lots of trials, tribulations, but I think the really cool thing about us and our family is, for some people, I mean, my parents are still together, and a lot, like, that's just shocking because especially after what we went through, it was just like, it would have been so easy to divorce like that.
The statistic out there,
Yeah, I mean, even
like
without
50%.
Yeah, I mean, even without going through what we went through, just divorce happened. And so but instead of like breaking our family, it brought us all together. We all did what we had to do, but it really, we've used that to grow and help others who were, going through mold poisoning or whatever, or just, so I think that I think that gave me like a lot of maturity, wisdom, and just a lot of unique life experiences that a lot of kids do not have. So
I went through something kind of similar with my older sister, because I'm the youngest, and she had gotten a life-threatening. Actually, we have a podcast. We made a podcast episode about it, but she had a life-threatening infection that was attacking her whole like ear, nose, and throat system.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know until after she survived it. The doctor told her it was literally a miracle because she had a 5% chance of surviving that infection.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Similar story, she had to like go to a different state to go to a specialist because the specialist in Delaware, they didn't know what to do. So literally, if she didn't go to this specialist in another state,
Yeah, that's how this one was too, because everyone was just like, there's nothing we can do for him. Like, he is like so insanely brain injured that like he's just gonna have to live with you guys forever, because that's just what's happened. And then literally after we got him well, literally everybody was like, we have never seen a person come back from this, like, what happened? So yeah, it was definitely it was definitely a miracle in that way too, and that was a really rocky time for everybody, but I feel like my faith really was ramped
Tested.
up a lot. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
because we also we couldn't go anywhere either. It was kind of like we were living in COVID times earlier because of just how immune compromised my brother was, so that we couldn't really go anywhere, because if we got like a cold or something,
Like quarantine.
it was just if we brought something back, then that could be like a very, very real threat of death. So kind of figuring that, and I feel like my faith definitely was really when I was like kind of feel like I developed my own personal relationship with God, and just really through like everything that was happening, and we couldn't go to church anymore, and it was just important to me that I like didn't lose my faith. And that time
so
was
important.
and that time was just so incredibly, like, God was like right there with us through like we were just walking through hell, and it was absolutely terrifying, and we didn't know what was going to happen, who was going to die, what was going on. So that was really
I think that's the foundation, I think that's what stands the test of a long-term relationship, at least. If you have a strong faith, like if you're in a relationship, if you have a strong faith that you can fall back on, and you both have a strong belief in it that you can reflect upon, I think that's what keeps like the longest of relationships together, even through these trials.
Yeah, definitely. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. So that was, just a very very crazy point in my life. But yeah, it's been like 5 years since that happened. So it was a really rough 3 years after that. But kind of the past 2 years, I've really, we've gotten to a different place. So we've really been able to like take a breath, and then really just kind of, for me, it was kind of like not being in such like that danger zone. So I was really able to like really realize what had just happened, because in the moment, I mean, it was like 3 years, and I was still like, what just happened, and because we were still kind of not sure what was going on.
It can be like traumatic,
Oh
yeah,
it
somewhat traumatic.
Yeah, it was hardcore. And so then kind of after getting like more time where we were like safe again, and like the crisis was like mostly over, and it wasn't as like high of a stakes, that was really when we all were kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And so that was like a really, really rough 2 years processing all of that. But happy to say I made it through, and I'm, back to myself again, which is great, because there were a few years.
Much more to come.
Yeah, I'm very, very
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to manifest adversities, but...
Oh, no, I mean, that's part of life, and I really feel like that is, made
it
me...
makes you grow.
Yeah,
it's like it's life's way of teaching you something and forcing you to grow.
Yeah, and I think there's really like an interesting thing there, because like I was saying with like divorce and stuff, I feel like just really kind of the family dynamic that we had was really good too, because we really could have let that just like end us and just really destroy our family and just our lives and everything, but we really used it as like, we got through it, and we were finding the positive, and we were looking for the hope and finding the hope, and continuing to go on this journey, even though it was insane. And so I feel like just being able to have that perspective and that hope, and just the strong family that we did, of like, we're not going to leave anybody behind, and we're going to figure this out like until we're dead. Like, we are going to keep working on this. We're not just going to give up. So that's been really great, and I think that is really what has made me so resilient, and just really be able to accept new challenges. I mean, even probably taking this career path, because it's so out of the ordinary.
I have like 3 good questions for you. It's like well, now that we were talking about resilience, I can talk about this question that I had about faith and having patience. So how do you feel when you feel discouraged about what you're doing, or when you experience a setback or a failure or a learned lesson, how do you feel when you're experiencing that and having faith and patience while you're doing it?
Yeah, I think it just kind of goes back to keeping the big picture in mind for me. I'll definitely take the time to, to feel it and not just be like, oh, I don't like, this feels terrible, I'm gonna like go distract myself. Yeah, so I think that's a big thing, is just letting myself be like, that sucked. Cry if I need to, do whatever I need to just actually like acknowledge that I don't know, there was a setback or whatever it could be. But really, for me, I think even most of the time too, I don't see a lot of things as setbacks because of the way that I view life and view challenges. So, I mean, for me, there's not even a lot of things that I see as a setback, because in my mind, I don't constitute those as setbacks. So, I know what this game is like in the film industry. So I know that I'm going to go out for a lot of stuff, and I'm only going to book a few of them because that's just how this works. So I have the correct expectations in my mind. I'm not like, I'm going to book everything, and like if I don't, then I'm just a failure and like I should just quit. So I also, that's not what it's about. And I know that like I learn the most when I make quote unquote mistakes. I don't even like to call them mistakes, because I learn way more from trying things than from like doing it correctly. Like, you can do it correctly and then be like, I'll keep doing that. But
I'm the same way.
yeah. So, and I feel like the patience to just, even with this career, it takes a lot of patience. And I feel like I was really impatient, and it was really hard. I think after kind of going through what I did, I think that helped my patience a lot, because a lot of things changed in my life. So I think that taught me a lot of patience, but even so much more patience to this next level. Like when I first started, I really like to know all the details about everything. I like to know what's happening. I like to kind of be in control in that way. And so I remember I was about to do a commercial, and it was like 9:00 at night. I had like just driven 9 hours with my mom to go to a different state for this commercial. And I remember I'm like looking at my phone, I'm exhausted, shooting starts tomorrow morning, and I'm like, I still haven't gotten an email from production, like what's going on, like if they expect me there in the morning, like how am I gonna like get there if like I don't have this. And I really want like as much time, like I really want enough time to like feel like I'm prepared, And so for me, that was really hard, because I was like all flustered. I was like telling my mom like, what's happening? I mean, she was asking too, and it was like my first commercial too. So we weren't, exactly sure what was going to happen or the timeline of everything. So she was asking me, and that was making me more stressed out. And then it finally came at like 10 p.m. And so something that I had to learn is like, I need to be patient, and they are going to get it to me, because like they literally need me to film this. So they're not gonna like leave me out of the loop, but also they have the correct expectations as well. They are not, if they're professional, they are not gonna send me something. They're not gonna send me the call sheet an hour before I need to be somewhere, because they don't know where I live. They don't know how long it would take for me to travel, and they don't know what I'm doing. So I can't just drop everything, and like, hey, we're filming this in an hour, come here, or else like we're giving somebody else the job. So that was really helpful, of like kind of going through that learning phase of, having to let go of the need to control so much and the need to like be so prepared, which I think just kind of goes hand in hand with me just wanting to be in control of things. So,
like your personality, or?
I don't know. I really like to do my best in everything. I think that's why I was really good at school. And I'm very disciplined, so I like to be prepared. I like to do my best in everything, which I think is a good habit to get into. But I think with things like this, you can't.
You get too obsessed with like the control.
Yeah, and with things like this too, like there are so many things that you don't control, and there's so many pieces. Yeah. So in that moment, I was like, okay, either I need to learn how to be patient and like let go of this and know that like they're gonna get it to me, like they're not gonna forget about this, and like it's going to come to me when it needs to, and it's all gonna work out, and the timing's gonna be perfect. Or I need to just not do this if I really can't, because that was a big thing for me.
You can't deal with it.
Yeah, and it was a big thing for me. I was like, what, like, they need to, like, let me know earlier. I was just really afraid of, like, I think, like, being late or, like, not being prepared because, like, they didn't get it to me on time, you know, or, like, with enough time to get ready for it. So, yeah, that, I remember coming to that when I was, like, 16 when I first started the film stuff with just some of the auditions I did. And then with that commercial at the beginning of the year.
Could I keep doing this?
Yeah,
Could
well,
I
that
keep
was
dealing with this.
Yeah, it was a big moment because I was like, this is how it's going to be. I recognize that that's just how this industry is, which I'm glad, because then I was able to make the decision, and I was like, either I have to just like let go and accept that this is how it's going to be, and like be more patient and just really trust that it's all going to work out and they're going to get it to me on time. Or if I don't want to do that, or if I can't and that's just not something I'm willing to change in myself, then like I just need to not do this. And I was really real with myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I want to do? And I was like, I think I want to try letting go.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
I have a very interesting social media post that I'd like to show you.
Yeah.
And get your thoughts on it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Do you know who Emilia Clarke is?
I do not.
She's the Game of Thrones princess.
Did she have like white blonde hair and like blue eyes?
Yeah, her like the first episode she had her boobs out.
I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I feel like I've seen posters or something. Like, I don't know. I know a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you said that, I was like, I know that there's one lady and she's like white blonde hair.
Yeah, I just thought she was in an interview and she made a interesting comment on up and coming actresses, actors, people getting into the film industry, specifically on the acting side. So let me know if you can hear it.
Starting out in the industry.
I can hear it.
Are you sure? If there is anything else, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if there is anything else, if you are a young actor who's like coming up to, am I going to go to drama school? I think I want to be an actor. Is there anything else in the world that you could do that would bring you joy? Not that like I could be an accountant, I'm really clever, but like that you would want to do that, because there's so much joy and there's so much love and there's so much amazing things to be found in this career, and I've had some of the best moments of my life doing it, but I've had some of the worst, and you've got to be there for the worst, and you've got to like ride through the worst to get to the best. And so if you don't love it with your heart, mind, body, soul, there is nothing else on earth that I could possibly do, then that would be my biggest piece of advice, because most of acting is being unemployed. The best piece of advice
I've heard that a lot.
What are your takes on that?
I've definitely heard that a lot. And I feel like two things. The acting industry is very competitive, but also most actors don't make it past 2 years, because I think a lot of people don't really understand what this is and the amount of work that you have to do. Like, I'm doing this full time, and the hours that I spend doing this is like literally a full-time job, and I don't get paid for the auditions that I do. So I don't get paid for all the prep time, for learning it, for, you know, performing it, you know, unless I book it. So I feel like it depends on where it's coming from. I feel like some people say that because they're like, I just don't want to have more people to like have to compete with in a way. But I mean, it really depends on like where you are in your career.
The
and
intentions.
like, the intentions are really important, because on the flip side, I could see that being a really useful thing, because there's a lot of time spent in this. And if you, I think the intention also comes from, what is your intention with getting into this? Do you want to become famous? Do you want to, like, why are you doing this? And I think that is the key, because if you're doing this to, like, become famous, then I think it is important to consider, you know, is there something else I would like to do? Because I think that all just comes down. I think what she's really saying is, what is your intention with this? Because, you know, you're going to have a very different journey, and it's going to be really hard and frustrating if, like, you're just doing this to, like, become famous or something, versus, like, do you actually really love to do this? And is there, you know, but is there also something that I don't know, would maybe be more steady or secure that you also really love that you could do. So because I think a lot of times when you're starting out, obviously you don't know anything about this, so you're going to realize that you're going to put in so much work, every day to do these auditions, to get the auditions, and you're only going to book a few of them out of if you do 10, maybe booking 1 or 2, and that's really good numbers right there anyway. But recognizing that, because it's a lot of persistence to keep doing this, and you spend a lot of time and energy into putting this together. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely some truth in that. But for me personally, I like to take that as a challenge. I don't think anyone has personally said that to me, but for me, I know what I'm about and I know why I'm doing this. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to quit now. I've also been doing this for 3 years, and I know what this game is. I know what the commitments are, and I've been doing it, and I am still enjoying it. But that's something I do check up with myself, periodically about too, is am I still enjoying this? And
that fulfillment.
Yeah, and it's also what are my numbers? Am I booking stuff? Because that was a really important thing to me too, to figure out in this gap year, because I know with college I could go and pick anything and I'd graduate, but graduating with a degree is very different from being in the real workforce of am I booking? Because I knew it doesn't matter how much I want to be an actor or I want to do this. What matters is, am I actually being booked? Am I getting hired? Because
getting experience.
Yeah, and it's if I'm not getting hired, it doesn't matter that I want to do this. That's just not I'm just not a good actor, and there's you have to be able to act.
When to call it quits.
Yeah, so I really wanted to take this year, because I was well, college is going to tell me I can do anything, because I'm just going to graduate and get the degree and that'll be easy. But getting out there, it's just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you're going to.
That's why I'm not big on academics either, even though I got my degree eventually.
I think it can be really helpful for some things.
But it just depends on what field you're going in.
Yeah, and that was something I kept hearing too when I first started looking into film when I was almost 16. Is I just kept hearing you just need to get on set. You'll learn everything on set. Don't go get into a ton of debt for something that you can learn. And so that was a really really important thing for me too. And I was really clear and real with myself. I was it doesn't matter how much I want to do this. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this. So I went in with a very open mind, and I was praying a lot about it, and I was Lord, just make it really clear if I can do this or if I can't.
Yeah.
And I was I will go to college. I'll go get a social psychology degree. That's my backup plan. I'll do that.
That was your backup?
Yeah, and so I did that helped me really be able to do the gap year too, knowing that I had something else just in case. That helped me wrap my head around doing that. But I just really wanted to be clear, because I was if I'm just not booking stuff, then I'm not gonna continue doing this, because I know it's just not gonna happen, because there's only so much that you can really do for this type of a job, that it really comes down to well, can you act or can you not?
That control aspect.
Yeah, so it's if you're a surgeon, you're gonna do it, because if you go to school, you're gonna learn how to do it, and the majority of people can do it if you're trained. But with acting, you can obviously get better with training, but I think there is just a natural kind of raw talent that you need as well to be able to do this. Training helps so much, but it is at the end of the day, are you being hired? Are you able to book? So I was really trying to be clear about that in this year and be
I think
is it happening or is it not?
Completely different. Yeah, because you could be the most trained actor in the world, but somebody it depends on the people where you're auditioning and the people who are seeing you, if they value that.
And it's also if you're going up and for a lot of auditions, and you just obviously you go up for a lot and you don't book a lot, but if you're never booking and you're auditioning, well, I think if you're not even getting auditions, that says something. But I think also, even if you are getting auditions, if you've done 100 or 200 and you still haven't booked one, I think you need to kind of consider that. But I also think you need to make sure that you're giving it your all, because this year I was I am not here to play. So I was my headshots are terrible, and I know that headshots are your calling card. So really this year I invested. I said I'm going to do every single thing in my power to see if this is going to work, because there's no way I'm going to get to the end of the year and go, well, now I've just learned about headshots. And maybe if I had a better headshot, maybe things would have been differently. Because the year is up and I would have to decide to go to college or not. So that was something very important to me, is that I've had clear with this time as well. I have given it my absolute all. I've been in classes. I took 3 rounds of headshots and consulted with my agent and was like, are these competitive? Like, tell me I'm not here to waste time. I'm not here to like do whatever. I'm going to pay the money. I'm going to invest because I need to give it my all and see if this is going to work. Because if it is, then that's great. But if it's not, you know, I need to know that so I can go do something else.
Man, that's so good.
Thank you.
'Cause no, I mean, it's clear that I feel like you just have passion in whatever you do. It seems like whatever you're doing that is important to you, you have passion behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good trait to have.
Yeah, it makes my life really enjoyable too, because that's,
Why?
you know, yeah, it's my life. So.
Like, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I do consider myself a very passionate person. I actually was considering doing law because I did a mock trial in 9th grade for a part of like the homeschool thing. It was like a real trial that happened in real life. We went to like a courthouse and there was like a retired judge there. So it was like very cool. And I was on the prosecution and it was like a murder trial and I won. And I love debating.
Like a fake murder trial? Or
it was a fake one, but it had been tried, like it was a real thing that had been tried, like I don't know, in the 70s or something.
Previously, yeah.
Yeah, but that was really, for me, I was like, I'm really good at debating, I'm good at persuasion, and it's really like if I'm really passionate about something. Like if I know something is wrong, I'm gonna like tell you why it's wrong, but I'm also
gonna speak up. You're gonna speak up instead of
but also not in like a mean way. I'm really going to try to understand your side, because that's, you know, you're just in an argument if you don't try and understand the other side, you know. So it's really important to understand where they're coming from, and then they feel heard, and then you can show them like, well, here's what the research says, and have you seen these studies, and have you and just kind of really bring to light, because then you're in a conversation and then there's room to share your side if both sides are feeling heard, and you're not just being like, well, you're wrong, and like you don't know what you're talking about and I do, and like then they're like, well, you're wrong, and then it's over.
And you're 19 years old, and this is something that is very prevalent amongst politics today. I don't even want to talk about politics, but that's the issue with politics today.
Yeah, it's really like there's no room for conversation, because I think it's like so
we have
personal.
to have a conversation. Instead, it's like back and forth, like bickering and bantering with each other, like children.
I feel like it's very emotionally charged too, and also so when it's emotionally charged, you know, you're going to take things personally. And so I think that's really where the issue is, because if you are so emotionally charged about an issue and it's very personal to you, and if you have 2 people like that on very opposite ends, you're not going to be able to say anything without it feeling like an attack. And being like, well, have you thought, well, what the heck are you talking? You don't even know. And like, my grandma, like this happened to her, and like you're just being so rude, because it's just all personal. And it's really coming from like a very emotionally charged personal place. So I feel like you have to, you know, if you want to talk about something,
take out the emotion.
And some people are not ready for that, and some people don't want to do that, and that's absolutely okay. But it's just really learning to recognize who those people are, and maybe you don't have a conversation with them because you can just see that they're not going to be able to listen, and they don't want to listen. They really just like want to keep to their side. And so anything you say is going to feel like an attack for them. And so just really kind of, I've been able to kind of spot those people as well. If I'm just, sharing, even just sharing my acting things, it's like I've had a lot of people give me their opinions on what they think about that. And just kind of recognizing who I can talk to about it and how much I can share about it. And really being able to tell, I've been able to take, or, not take a lot of things personally, which is great, because I can really just know that, like, if they're saying something to me, I'm like, I see everything that's going on inside your head right now, and that's the only reason you're saying this to me right now. And so just having that, like, awareness And being, you know, not
And
being so
observation.
inside of myself either, to be like the whole world like revolves around me.
Yeah.
To just be able to see like, okay, they're saying this and they have all of their needs, wants, and opinions about everything, and so that's the only thing that they're sharing with me. They're not thinking about me, they're thinking about themselves. And everyone is, and you know that's fine, but I think having that key piece of information helps me to not take things personally, because it's like, well, you're not in my head, and if you were in my head living the way I am, then this would make sense, but you're not. So, you know, keeping that perspective too when people say things, to be like, well, we're living different lives and you're not in my head, and the only reason you're saying this is because it wouldn't make sense for your life.
Emotionally charged.
Yeah, and for your life too, because if you were in my life and you saw the world the way I see it, then it would make so much sense, and you could see why I was doing what I was doing. So yeah, I think even acting has helped so much in, I mean, I've done a lot of psychology stuff, so that helps just in like day-to-day life and like the world and just getting different perspectives. But it's really helped with acting too, as I, you know, delve into my characters and really be like, why are they saying this? Why are they making these choices? What's their motivation behind this? So it helps, because that's exactly how people are too in the real world. So it's made me a really good communicator and just really good at navigating other things and just
in real life. So have you figured out like your why behind it? Have you figured out like why, like it's not for fame, right? It's not for fame, or is it for fame?
Well,
so why
no.
So why do you think, because you're clearly like passionate and it seems like you love it, you know, so why keep doing it?
I think, I really enjoy it, and the way that I've kind of set up this gap year, I really wanted to be real with myself about it. So some of the requirements that I had for myself, or just goals, I would say, was I need to actually book work, I need to make money, I need to. So I've been very realistic about kind of the goals that have happened, because
like now?
Yeah. I mean, even just like after I graduated, I just was like, okay, what needs to happen for me to say yes to this, and and then I guess if those things don't happen, then it'll be a no. So really having all of those things happen, you know, really has helped me in that. I also feel like I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and a lot of my family members are, so I've kind of just been, you know, grown up and raised in that kind of entrepreneurial environment, and so, I really enjoy doing that. So yeah, I think just doing this because I really, really love it, and I think it's really important to love what you do, but also, you know, that's also
be real.
Yeah, I'm not like, I love this and like I'm gonna live in my parents' basement like when I'm 30. I did not want that, and that's why I was like, okay, Anna, like we need to be real. What's gonna happen here? So I think, just the way I set it up, like all of those boxes have been checked, and I've had great mentors in my life who have helped me as I've grown and learned, and just after actually doing so much work for this past year has really given me a lot of perspective. And that was something going into this too. I know I had done theater, and I was like, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna like film, you know, I've never done it before. I don't know if I'm gonna, you know, be booked. I don't know if my acting is gonna be good enough for this. Like, I just don't know anything. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna give it my all, and I'm gonna go in with a very open mind. I'm not gonna judge anything. I'm not gonna put expectations on myself. And it's not like, if I don't book a feature film in my first month of doing acting, then like it's not for me and I'm quitting, which I think shows a lot that I did want to do this because, okay, I don't know what that, anyway, so I think that was,
what is that?
Who knows? I feel like that was really cool too, and just part of me being really intuitive to know that if I did anything in that kind of way, it would set me up for failure. If I was like, I have to book this many things by this time, I feel like there can definitely be guidelines and goals, which is really, I'm so goal oriented, and that has gotten me as far as I have gotten, just because also my personality and I personally am very goal oriented. But I feel like just even in that too, I was very realistic, and you know, I wanted to be open, and I think that was the biggest thing, because I also wasn't like, you know, because I guess if I don't book this number of things in this time frame, it's not only I'm just not going to do this, but it's like, what does that mean about me? What do I feel like that means about me? And it'd be like, well, I'm a failure. Well, I suck at acting. Well, I just can't do this. And so not only am I just setting myself up to fail because that's unrealistic, but also I'm putting all of that negativity on myself to be like, you know, just because I didn't understand. And so I really came into this knowing that I knew nothing, and knowing that I was going to try my best to learn everything that I could, and really put all my chips in, and not
and see how you feel about it.
Invest the money, take the classes, and then get on set and really be like, is this fun? Is this boring? Is this you know, is this like, I don't know, really scary? Do I want to do this? So there were a lot of different boxes that had to be checked, and I continually update those boxes too through this whole year as I've progressed, and that has been really great, because after I was like, okay, I've done this, now I think I really want to go here and do this, and then it's really cool to see how I just feel like the Lord really has provided all of those things at the right time too. But I'm continually checking in, and I've just been checking off my boxes so fast, which, you know, I literally had a time where I was like so busy with things, and I was kind of like, I had this call back, and I was like, oh, like, I just don't know if I want to do this, and like, what am I even doing this for? So I was definitely having like a moment, but I realized I had checked off all of my boxes, and I did not make any time to take some time to be, where am I going next? What do I want to do? So I had no future in mind. So really what I was doing now, like, I knew that it would get me somewhere, but I didn't have a clear vision of like where I was going. So that's why I had that moment of like, do I want to keep doing this? And then, so it's really important for me that I like have really clear goals, and I'm keeping track of if they're being completed and where I need to go next, and getting more information on, is this a reasonable time frame to get this done, or is this me being naive?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you just experienced the cycle of the pursuit of happiness. You know, it's that cycle. You know, you reach a mountain, you reach the peak, and then you have to question yourself, what's next? You know, there's always another mountain to climb.
Yeah,
you know?
I think I love that too about film, is that it's really endless, and there's not, because I thought about doing law, I also thought about doing like psychology, and doing some of the more sciencey things. My dad's a doctor, so you know, anatomy has really interested me, and a lot of those types of things. But my parents kind of pointed out, like, yeah, you might have fun, like, you know, measuring the vials and messing with chemicals for a little bit, but then like you're gonna be doing that every day. And I think just for me, with my entrepreneurial spirit, I really love how with film, there's really no limit to what I can do. Yeah. I can do directing, I can do cinematography, I could be a producer, I could be a casting director. There's freedom. Yeah, there's literally so much that I could do if I want to. So I can continually evolve myself and really do what I love, and I'm not going to be stuck just doing acting. And I'm also, I'm going to be free at any time to change, which I think is really important to me, to be able to continually grow myself and not put myself in a box. Because you can only get so far with like law or, you know, sciencey things that you can do. I did like law though, because it was similar with film, of like each, you know, case is different. And I was like, so when I was thinking about that route, I was like, I feel like being a judge would be cool a little bit. And I feel like I really wanted to feel fulfilled too, and like passionate, and like what I was doing was really right for me and really like fulfilling, because I think that's really important too. I didn't just want to do something because like it's cool, you know, not be like, I'm just going to do this because like I'm going to be on TV and I'm going to be famous, or like I'm just going to go be a doctor so I can tell people like I'm a doctor and like I'm way cooler than you.
I think it's really, really important to find that in life, you know, like be real, but then also try to find that thing that you're truly passionate about, that you could maybe make a living, you know? Yeah,
for sure. And I'm so fortunate that I have found it this young, and I feel like the homeschooling really brought that into. I did like gymnastics for a while. I was competing in that when I was younger. So, you know, there have been so many phases of my life and so many different things I was able to try. And then especially after being homeschooled, I was like, what do I want to do? And like, this is my life. And like, I have like my own time back. Like, nobody can dictate when I do this. Obviously, you know, there is a guideline, but it's also not like, okay, at 8 a.m. you go to this class, then the next one, and you have to do it in this order. And everyone's controlling your time. Like, you have, like, your time is not your own. And so that was a crazy freedom that I realized, like, the first week of homeschooling. I was like, oh my gosh, I can, like, get this done faster. And I was even being rewarded for getting it done faster and for working harder and for having discipline, because then I was rewarded with my time. And I was not, like, punished. I mean, I had teachers, after being homeschooled, I went back for like the last 3 months of 7th grade. I was homeschooled most of 7th grade and then went to public school for like 3 months. And I was really advanced in like reading and writing, and I just completed the assignment in like 10 minutes. And I give it to the teacher, and she looks at me and she's like she looked at me as if I was like lying, and as if like she didn't believe that I had done it.
Cheated or something.
Literally, she just gave me like the dirtiest look. And then she was like, well, you need to go back and like repeat this again. And I'm like, the same 6 steps that I just did. And she just she did not like it all that like
that
I was done.
100% judgment right there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just, yeah, I did do a little bit of public school after that. But I mean, just finding the freedom, I got to try starting different businesses. I got to do a lot of babysitting, you know, I just got to try so many things. And I really got to see what I liked and what I didn't. And so that is I think just a crucial part of like how I found it so fast.
Yeah, I think that's important I think that's an important aspect that you're talking about, because some people don't even give themselves the grace to try because of either the comparison trap or the repeating of the automatic thoughts that you can't do it, you're not good enough, why even bother? And I think that's extremely important and very wise of you to see that in retrospect, that it is important to try new things, because you don't know unless you try. You know, you don't know if you will like something unless you try.
Yeah, you have to give yourself the grace to like just be terrible at it. I recently started taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, and I, know absolutely nothing about that. So I really had to, it showed a lot of like the insecurities I had, or the self-judgment I had of like, I'm gonna look so stupid, like everyone's gonna think that like I don't know what I'm doing. So that was good, because I was aware of that, and I was like, okay, there's some self-judgment going on there. And then just really allowing myself to embarrass, or to like be embarrassed, you know?
Be okay with that, and embrace that you're new, you know?
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to the self-judgment on, but I mean, also you can be really confident, and then if somebody says something, you know, that can change things as well. But I feel like, I mean, there really is, I mean, if you think about even just like in school and in life, you're punished if you don't do things a certain way. You're punished if you fail.
Your grades.
Literally, there are so many punishments that happen. And so if you're in that every day, you know, like it's nobody's fault that like, you know, you have limiting beliefs, or you don't want to try something in case you fail. Because if you look at like our lives, you know, in school, like everything is like, if you don't do this right, if you mess up, you are going to be punished so much. Even if it's not that much, it feels like a lot. It feels so personal. Or the teacher's calling you out, or you get this grade and then your parents get involved, and then what do they think about that grade? And so it's really like, it's just so ingrained in us and like in our culture. So it's really not anybody's like fault. It's not like, why can't I just like try something new? Why can't I just like believe in myself? It's like, because you've been kind of programmed based off of all your experiences that like it's dangerous to fail. It's dangerous to try something new. You're going to be punished. And so, you know, it's hard to break out of that once you've been in that, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. But just really going back to like, I found going back to like, well, what do I think about this? If I mess up, what am I going to think about that? And so really coming to that and being like, well, if I mess up, like I'm going to try again. And like, if I look stupid and silly, well, like, you know, that's okay. I'm allowed to look stupid and silly. You know, I'm allowed to try something
Not
new, and
what,
I'm
like,
giving myself
everybody
permission.
else is thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, really giving myself permission to do that and to let go of the prejudices and the worries of what if I
Other
fail,
people,
what if I mess up. Yeah, what are other people gonna do, and just taking back the power of that and being like, well, it's most important what I think, and so I'm gonna decide how
Not
this is
what
gonna
you
go.
think.
Yeah, and it's really like once I was able to really come up with those guidelines and make those guidelines of like, this is okay for me to do. I am allowed to look ridiculous. I'm allowed to fail. I am allowing myself to do this. And as soon as that happened, that really shifted a lot of things, because I was like, well, I don't have to look for other people to give me permission. And if anybody says anything, I already know how I feel about this. So it's not going to impact me most likely as much as it would if like I didn't know what I thought about it, you know? And I'm just like going in, and then somebody says something to me, I'd be like, well, I guess they're right, because I didn't actually think about this, you know, before coming here. So that's been helpful too.
I think that's all a part of having that self-esteem and self-confidence, and realizing that, you know, it goes back to that old saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. And it just goes to that, you know, like, you, no matter what other people say, what really matters is what you say to yourself on the inside. So if somebody says something bad to you and you really take it personally, like we were talking about earlier, then it will hurt you. But if you don't take it personally, and you know who you are, and you have that strength of identity within yourself, then you don't, it just goes with the wind or whatever.
Yeah, and it definitely takes time to build that, for sure. But I feel like really, and it can also really show you, like, if somebody says something to you and you really, like, you're choosing in that moment to either accept what they say and believe it, or be like that's ridiculous, like, what are you talking about? And then it doesn't even hurt you. So it is a really good thing too, to see like where the judgments are coming from, and then really be like, okay, I really felt like I really took that personally, and so there must be some part of me that believes just a little bit that maybe,
like, reflect on it,
literally,
yeah.
like, that maybe I am not enough because I just accepted what they said. So then that for me is a really good thing that I go into, and I'm like, okay, that really hurt my feelings, so there must be a part of me that does believe that a little bit,
like, why did that?
Yeah. And so versus some things, if you're really solid on, it's like if I go and I say like, you have blue hair and it's like ugly, well, it doesn't do anything to you because you're like, I don't have blue hair, and like, okay. Versus if, you know,
it really touched something.
Yeah. And so that for me is just like being self-aware and really being like, hold up a minute. There's something here. There's something in me that believes this. And it can be hard to look at that too, because you're like, well, I don't want to, you know, I feel like I'm like so confident all the time, or like, I don't want to think bad things about myself. And it's like, it already was there and it already is there. And it might not be showing up a ton, but like, that's definitely something you should acknowledge. And by thinking about it too, it's not going to like make it true, because it was already there if you're reacting to that, you know? So those have been really helpful, especially in this field, because everybody has opinions about, even just in the casting process, you know, if you get it or not.
Even imagine.
Yeah. And then when your films come out too, it's like the group of people that I have, are from like a lot of different areas. I have friends all over the country. I have a lot of people with a lot of different perspectives on life. So, you know, when I'm thinking about a film or something, that's been something I've had to really check with myself, because I'm like, okay, I know some people are not going to like that I did this. And I can already hear all the judgments, you know, that they could be bringing to me or bringing to my parents, of like, you let her do this, even though it is like literally like nothing bad at all and very like PG. But I mean, even for me of being so I just mean that's been a really important thing for me to be like, why am I doing this? And I don't want anybody else to have a say in like the reason I decide to accept or decline a job. What do I feel about this? Because that's the most important. I'm going to be the one doing this. It's going to be my name, and it's really like
even your parents.
Yeah, exactly. And
parents,
it's just been really important. So because there was one job that I did that I was like, I know that a group of people that I am friends with, they're, you know, they might be like, why were you, very judgy. Yes, very judgy. Yeah. So I was a little bit worried about that, and I was a little worried about like sharing that, and I was like, you know what, like, was I okay doing this? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, was this actually absolutely fine? Yes. Or is it just that group of people that might not like this because they just are very uptight or whatever? Yes. And so then it's just really going back to making sure that I did it for the right reasons, you know, and not worrying about, like, if I accept this job, like, what are they going to think of me? And just really having a clear moral compass on what jobs I will and won't do. And obviously with that, there's some people who are going to be like, well, just do it. Like, it's fine. And like everybody does it.
I still don't know how they do those scenes.
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, and that's really like.
Do they really do it, or do they don't?
No.
Or it's like there's like a fake glass or something in between, or.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules on that, which is great. A lot of protections, but it's just interesting where you really have to, like, you know, focus back on yourself. Because I know if I do one thing, people are going to be like, yeah, like, you should, like, everybody does it, it's fine. And then other people are going to be like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you're terrible. Like, Hollywood's gotten to you. And so I think there's a really, like, I just need to know, for me, you know,
where the intentions are.
Yeah, and just what do I want and what am I doing? Because if I listen, I mean, I don't think I'd do anything if I listened to everybody. Because it'd be like, well, they want me to do this and they don't. So, like, I can't decide and I just won't do it. Yeah, you get really stuck, and you really have to keep, especially with this job, you really have to keep a close circle and a close, like, know who you can and can't talk to about this. I have, like, one friend, I can tell her everything. She's awesome, and I know that, like, she understands it, versus some people, if they're insecure or they don't like what's happening in their lives and they don't like how young I am, they don't like that I'm, like, on TV, you know, I've picked up that on immediately. And, like, if I share something about it, their reaction just tells everything. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk to them about my job. Or if they ask me, I'm like, yeah, it's going good. So what's going on with you? You know, so really putting it, you know, just navigating those different relationships. And I've definitely, you know, have been all over the spectrum on, like, you know, getting different reactions from certain things. So I really know, and also, like, who's going to uplift me? Who's going to be jealous of me and be like, oh, like, are you sure you're going to do that? Or like, you know, like, your acting wasn't that good in that. Or, you know, I can't believe you booked the role of, like, versus this other person. So who's jealous of me and therefore is going to try and give me backhanded compliments? Or who is someone that I can really trust who's going to be excited with me and just kind of, like, you know, be happy for me, because I'm really happy with what I do and I love it. And so I just need to I've just been really careful to make sure who I'm around, because
it's going back to that cutting certain people out and being around the people that either uplift you or people that,
because those things are going to get in my head, and then I'm going to start doubting myself, and then I'm also just going to be like there was a time too where I was like, this is just so hard because everybody has an opinion and, like, everyone is judging me. It feels like it is so hard to do this. And I realized, like, well, I just need to not share certain things with those people, and that's okay. And as soon as I did that, well, there's no longer any room for them to give me my opinions. And even when they do, I know where they stand, because I've already had, like, you know, I'm really good at, you know, kind of getting the vibe on people. So I've already know that, like, their opinion doesn't matter to what I'm doing. But I do have the people in my life who I'm like, whose opinion does matter, because I want to be guided, and I know that this is a new field, and I want to make sure that I'm, you know, going on the right track, I guess. So I, like, my parents' opinions are really important, my mentor, but also my parents have just really emphasized, like, we can give you our opinion, but we want you to do what you feel is best, because you know more than us in this field, and ultimately it's your life, and we don't want to control that. And if you know that this is absolutely right and you understand this better, you know, we do not want to be the ones who are telling you not to or make you not do something that you really knew you needed to do just because of us. And that, I have so much respect for that. My dad, both my parents, but really my dad was kind of the first one to be saying that, and I just have so much respect, because then that really also put it so much back to me of, they allowed me to trust myself, and they allowed me to, with guidance, but also they just keep going back to, like, you know, well, what do you think about this? And they've also weren't, you know, if I've had a lot of jobs that I've declined doing auditions for, because I'm not going to do certain things that the script said that they were doing. And so I've had times where I did call my parents to talk about it, and I was like, hey, so, like, I have this audition, and, like, can you look at the script? And they've never been like, you are not doing this, young lady, this is terrible, like, why would you even consider this, like, what's wrong with you? They have never said any of that, which has really helped has just really,
What did
fostered.
they say about those when you do question it?
Yeah, well, they've fostered, like, we have a great relationship, so I first off feel like I can talk to them about it, which is like the first step, because if not, then I would have just done what I felt I wanted to do. But yeah, when I call them about those things, they always say, well, what do you think about it? Because usually if I'm calling, I know immediately I can either say yes
crazy.
or no. And so if it's something that I can't immediately say yes to, I know in myself that I just need to find out what's giving me this pause. Why do I feel like I can't just like say yes to this immediately? So then, my mom's like, so, what do you think about this? And then we're kind of talking, and I'm like, well, I feel like, this might not be like that, or like, maybe this isn't the best thing to do. And then, my parents are kind of like, here's what I was thinking. And like, also I have been very sheltered in my life. So I recognize that I can be very naive when it comes to certain topics. So there were a few scripts that I got that the only thing that I had seen of like what was happening with that was like very PG apparently. And so I knew that I was naive, and I was like, maybe this doesn't mean what I think it means. So then that's why I was calling my mom. I was like, so I feel like it's okay, but I'm also like, maybe I just don't understand what's happening because you guys have really sheltered me from a lot of those things. And then, both of my parents will always just, kind of be real with me and kind of be like, so this is what that means, and this is what you would be portraying, and and then they really leave it to me to be like, do you want to be playing a role like this? And so they really just helped me navigate that, and it usually comes back to like, what do I think, and then they share their thoughts, but even in those conversations, they're not like, you shouldn't do it, they never say things like that.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up, because I'm a father. Most of the times I'm a single father, and I have twins, and they're 6 years old now. But a lot of the times when they either like get into a fight or bicker with each other, and I always tell them that I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do you think is right or wrong? Or I always try to get them to think for themselves, and not me just always telling them, because they always fight or cry about something. I mean, they're only 6, but yeah, I always try to get them. I say, what do you think?
Yeah, that really puts it into I feel like that has been so helpful, because it's really taught me to trust myself. And I feel like so much as we're growing up, we get taught that like we can't trust ourselves, and it's not safe to trust ourselves.
Just listen.
Yeah, or like, we can't, or like we say something that we want to do, and someone's like, no, you can't. And so then you think, well, like, I just can't trust any ideas that I have, and like, it's just like not, I don't know, any variation of things that could happen. But I feel like that has really encouraged me to know that it is okay to trust myself, and that is so important. And it's also put us all into like the critical thinking and thinking for yourself, and really, I think ultimately taking control of your life, because through this I have been able to, I'm not in college, which is what everybody else my age is doing. And I feel like that really was only able to happen because I was allowed to trust myself, and I was allowed to be my own person and think for myself, like, where do I want my life to go, instead of, just having everybody tell me what they want me to do with my life, which is like, a lot of what the school system does, or other people, or, parents having expectations for their kids of like, well, I was a doctor, so you're going to go be a doctor.
You should be a doctor.
And like, also no room for, I think, just so much expectation that goes into it, and really not allowing people to see what they want for themselves, and fostering them to be able to even think about that, because it's scary to think about that if you're like, well, I just can't trust myself, Oh,
yeah. Well, I have a saying that I'd like to say to you, and then we can transition into my final questions I ask everybody. But the saying, you probably are familiar with it, for I know the plans I have for you.
Declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. Jeremiah 29:11, that's in my bio, and I have a journal with that verse. It's my favorite verse.
I wanted to ask you, what does that really mean to you?
Oh snap. Well, that verse came into play from a book that I read. And in the book it said, like write this down like on your mirror or somewhere that you can like see it a lot. And that came into play right before all the family crises happened. And so that verse, everything was fine. And then, as I just started looking at that verse, and then like I think just only like a few months after that, everything blew up. And so for me, that was like a way that I felt so connected to God and just so like I'm gonna be okay, even though everything feels like it's not gonna be okay, and we really don't know like, are you gonna die? Are you gonna live? Like, what's happening? Everything is like in chaos, and it feels like it's in chaos and out of control. That was really something that really, really helped me, and really just to know that like I was gonna be okay. No matter what happened, I knew that God got me, and God is in the storm with me, even though it's terrifying. And so that helped me to stay grounded and rooted, and just maintain like some level of like basic safety of like feeling that, and just the hope of knowing that like the universe, or like the God of the universe literally like is thinking about me and has plans for my life that are going to bring me a future and hope and good things, and things that are not for destruction, because I was in like the destruction zone, it felt like.
Yeah.
And everything was just blowing up. So yeah, that was really, that was like my rock. And it was just such a, yeah, I mean, that verse was like kind of just the start of,
You memorized
of everything.
it.
Yeah, it was like my first journal. My grandparents got me a journal with that verse on it because they saw that it was written on my mirror. And
wow.
So that really has just, that was kind of the start, which it was so, that was kind of also the point too where I really took my faith into my own hands. It really, I was like going to church and stuff and doing like devotions, but really didn't think about like my personal relationship to God. It really didn't feel like I had one. It was just like, you go to church and check off the box.
Kind of listen, yeah.
Yeah, and so that helped. And especially when like we couldn't go to church anymore after we had moved and everything, it was really important to me that I kept up my faith. And so then I started like reading my Bible for myself, and that was like just the presence that I felt, and just the calmness, and like everything was going to work out, and just what I was reading, it was like just it like helped me through everything so much. And I think it helped shape my view on what was happening, and being able to move through it too, and not be like everything's terrible and like my life is over, because it was like really scary. But I feel like having that was extraordinarily helpful and calming, and just gave me that really personal relationship with God, to know that he was walking through that with me, and like did like literally save a family member, which was unexpected, because it really was not looking good at all. So yeah, and then just the faith of being like, whoa, like he's okay. And, wow.
When I read that, the first thing I thought of, it's probably naive because I'm not like too religious. I was like born and raised Christian, but over the years I like experienced studying different religions just to see, like, I guess I believe in a higher power or God, but I don't like practice a religion. But the first thing I thought of when I read that verse was just the Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of what it the first thing that I thought of. Is that like, do you agree? Or
yeah, no, I really do. It was yeah, it's an awesome verse, and can come in to just so many situations in life, which is why like reading the Bible for me was so awesome, because it was just talking about like literally things that I experienced and everyone does in their life, and like how to deal with it, and how to like, I mean, it really talks so much about like relationships and love, and like so many different aspects, which was surprisingly very applicable to my life now, which at first I was, I wasn't really sure about, but then I started actually reading it for myself, and I was like, wow, okay. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to let things be, like you physically can't do anymore, and sometimes you just have to just let the path, let the I don't know how to say it, just let it be type of thing, because there's only so much you can do, and there comes a time where you have to just let it be.
Yeah, and I feel like really just like letting God have control of it and just really trusting that he's going to provide everything that you need at the right time for your life specifically. And I think that's what was so cool, because as you know, everyone in my age range was like, where do you want to go to college? Like all these decisions were happening. It was just really cool to be like, God knows what my path is, and I'm going to trust in the opportunities that I get, what to say no to, you know, kind of where my morals are at, based, you know, rooted in the Bible, and just really be able to trust. And it's just so cool to be like, even though I'm, you know, I don't know what's coming, I know that God does, and I know that he's going to prepare me for faith, whatever it is, and I'm going to be okay ultimately, because, you know, things will happen, there's losses for sure, but I know that like I'm going to be okay, and he's got me. And which is really great, because I don't have to rely on like, you know, a person per se. It's definitely good to have those people in your life, but you know, people are people, and you can't really put, you know, that kind of an expectation on somebody to like take care of, you know, everything that you want, because everyone has their own wants and needs. But to really be able to be like, God is solely focused on me and my life and has wonderful things planned, and I'm going to like trust. And I think also just having all that supported in the Bible from reading that is really good too, because it's hard to trust if you're like, well, I don't know anything about this, and so why would you trust it, you know? So I think just reading through my Bible and really looking at the promises and the kind of testimonies of other people has been really encouraging.
Something that I read often is the Bhagavad Gita, which is the spiritual text of the like ancient Hinduism. But in there, he says, I think that's the closest thing that I connect with like spiritually, is like that text. I've read the Bible, bits and pieces of the Bible, but I think the closest thing for me is the Bhagavad Gita. And he says in there that God is within you, and that sometimes you have to just trust that. I mean, there's a specific quote, but I can't remember it right now, but it's something like that, that it's like sometimes you just have to have that faith, because God is within you, God is within everything. You know. Yeah,
that's kind of what the Bible says too, of, you know, we're all children of God, and therefore we are, you know, descendants of him, and the Holy Spirit is living in us, and our bodies are holy temples. So to really just, it talks a lot about just, I guess, just even like having self-respect for like taking care of your body, because you are a temple and the Holy Spirit's there and within you, and you are a child of God. So just really like respecting that, which I think is cool too, because it was it was very interesting to see and just read about that in the Bible and seeing what that talked about. So yeah.
But all right, let's get into the final questions. It's 5 questions, and the first one is, what is your biggest regret, if you have any?
Whoa. Biggest regret. Okay. Biggest regret would be I was the fastest girl on my track team, and I had won all the races and was about to go up against literally all the districts for the fastest girls. And I was about to get to run that race because I was the fastest girl at my school. And I got the flu. Got the flu right before, and they were like, you have to be in class all day, and then you can run the race, and if not, then like you can't do it. And then we had a outdoor school meeting, and it was 115 degrees out, because I was living in Arizona at the time. And so I was sitting out there in the sun like everybody else, like had a fever, had like the flu. It might have been strep throat, I don't know, it was terrible. So then I made it through some of the day, and then I had to go home. And then I came back, and I'm like, can I run the race? And they're like, were you in school all day? And I was like, I was there for part of it, but then the teacher sent me home. She's like, no. So that would be my biggest regret, is that I never got to run that race and like be competitive.
Really?
Yeah, because Yeah, I really don't like to think about like regrets in life because I feel like that's like not productive. It's really good to look back on your life and make changes for sure and be aware of that stuff. But I don't know, I feel like regret, just for what the word regret means to me, I can't really say anything other than that. That experience of running the race.
It's kind of a trick question because most of the regrets in our lives are just lessons that we learned, you know? Yeah. But next question is, who or what has made the biggest impact in your life so far that makes you who you are?
I think definitely my family, for sure. Yep.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, for my career, I've had an awesome mentor. Yeah, I feel like God has just really placed so many people in my life to really help me on this journey, which has been so cool to see play out because like I don't know anything and like just praying like I'd really like a mentor, and then like this person appears and they actually talk to me and I was like, well, I wouldn't expect you to come talk to me because I don't know anything yet. And then now I have this incredible mentor, so I think it's been really cool to see the people that God has put in my life who have all helped me on this journey.
No, that's good. So family and God.
Yeah.
That's good. What has been one lesson that you learned the hard way?
I think maybe patience. I think, yeah, there was definitely a lot of times I was pretty impatient, but then there was also a lot of times when I was very like feeling very out of control. So it's really, obviously it makes sense for what happened to me, so I'm not gonna like be judging that. Like it made, like I know why I was acting in that way considering what had just happened. But that was something that I did have to learn to like reset and come back to not having to be in control of everything, and just like, I mean, I was in this one production and I emailed this cast. I don't even think I had done the audition yet, but I emailed this casting director, like it was for theater, like literally, I swear, I think like 30 times, like we had emailed back and forth 30 times. And I was like just asking about like literally every single detail. Like I wanted to know before I was going to go do this, which is like good, but like it was way too much. And so I think kind of learning that to not, kind of learning how to communicate again in a different way that's like good, where I'm not writing like 8 pages to explain this. And then I think now, unfortunately, I've gotten into like being a little too concise. So to where like, you know, I say something and then they ask a question and they're confused, and then I explain, where like if I just had explained in the first part, then they wouldn't have been confused. So I think, yeah, just some of those, but I don't know if that answers the question, but I'm going to go with that.
So probably just having more patience when you think about it.
Yeah, I feel like
in general, patience with yourself, patience with other people.
Yeah, that was definitely a big one, and I feel like I've definitely reached that, and the film industry has helped me so much, because I was really like, I'm gonna go crazy, or I just need to like allow whatever's gonna happen to happen, and like just trust that they're gonna get me everything, and just be patient and wait. And I think just the waiting has really given me a lot of good perspective, just like in life in general, but you know, it did come from the career side of things.
What would you want to experience in life if you had infinite time and infinite money?
These are really good questions. I think, I mean, I don't really know if this goes with infinite time. I feel like a little bit, if you can have infinite time, then I feel like things start to matter a little less. So, but I'm going to say I would really like to, in my life, I'd really like to go to Germany, because I did learn German when I was like 10. It's all forgotten now, but I would still like to go to Germany and kind of travel some of the country. I think that would be really fun to just kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I did a lot of traveling, so I was like, I don't want to travel anymore. I just want to like be stable. but now I've been stable long enough, and I'm like, it's time to go. So I feel like that's what I would do.
That's it? Just gonna, if you had all the money in the world.
I don't have a lot of time to think
All
about
the
this, so I think also starting some charities would be pretty cool. And I think getting to do some research, like in a lab, like some of the sciencey things, I don't know if I would love to do that like long term, definitely not as a career, but like I would love to do that.
Okay. That's a different answer.
Yeah. It's definitely a answer. Definitely not. I didn't have a lot of time to think about this, so I don't know.
Well, maybe in a couple years you can come back on and change your answer.
Yeah.
But I mean, most people usually just say travel. Just like, I'll just keep traveling all over the world. Or they'll try to make the world better somehow with all that money, you know. But yeah, or if you think about it, you can DM me whenever you have the answer to that.
I mean, I feel like it's tricky just with the infinite time thing, because I feel like if you like live forever, I feel like nothing really seems like it matters, you know? It can feel like that. I feel like that's also awesome why like it's you know, as humans, like we are going to die. So I feel like it's really helped give a sense of urgency and a sense of like, how am I using my time? How am I like, I keep thinking of like, you know, I'm only going to be 19 once, and like I'm only like each phase that I'm in, really trying to appreciate it, and just knowing like, you know,
being more present.
Yeah, and just being like, I'm going to change and my life experiences are going to change, and I'm never going to be in this moment like ever again. So really just trying to enjoy that and help with perspective too, and be like, how am I using my time? Is it getting me where I want to go? Are there some things I need to change? And just kind of that sense of urgency a little bit, to just be like, you know, I don't have forever, and what do I want to do now? And just being, you know, something that's helped me with this career thing, and something that my parents have said too, is like, you can literally always go to college, like at any time you want. It will be there, you know? So you should do this thing in your career now and out. And that's really helped me too. And just to kind of divert from just going back to me and diverting from the opinions of other people, to be like, you know, well, at the end of the day, if you're telling me I should go to college and I shouldn't do this, who's going to have to go do that job that I got from college, me or you? And it's like, you're not going to have to do that, so I need to do what I'm going to be happy with. And you can tell me whatever, but at the end of the day, you're not the one who's going to have to go do that. I am. So that really helped keep me, like, you know, avoiding listening to them. Because
you have, like, societal
pressures.
You have societal pressures and expectations, and
it's wild out here.
Yeah, and some people live their entire lives, you know. There's boomers 60, 70 years old that have lived their entire lives that way. And even today there's people, well, more and more people are, I don't even want to say quote unquote woke now, but more and more people are realizing that they don't have to, you know, you don't have to follow that traditional path. You can, well, if you're, I don't know, if you want, like, there's a choice, to it, you know? Yeah, and that's really helped me too, to like be around, to really do some research on like other actors of like who did go to college, who didn't, what age did they start, and really just be around, you know, I feel like it's really your perspective and who you're around, because I was around after moving to where I live now, after being in that little bubble, nobody has like gone and done stuff. There's not a lot of entrepreneurial things happening there. It's very much like everybody goes to college, everyone lives in the same city for like their whole life. And so I feel like for me, it was so inspiring and really, really important for me to meet other people, or just hear of other people who like aren't taking the traditional path. That has helped and inspired me, like, so much. Different perspectives. Yeah, to be like, oh, they didn't do this and they're killing it, and like it actually was okay. And I feel like coming back to that safety too, of like just knowing that like whatever happens, I'm gonna be okay. And I think the judgment part was a big thing, because I also wasn't going into this being like, well, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna feel like a failure and everyone's gonna judge me. Instead of being like, why don't I just try? And if in 3 years, like, I don't want to do this, or I don't know, something happened. If you want to change,
I'm not going to feel like a failure, and I'm not going to be like, oh, like what did all those people were right.
At least you tried it.
Yeah, and so it really comes back to like, what do I think of myself and what do I think about certain things happening? And that was really key, because if I would have thought like that I had to succeed in the first month, or else like something really bad would have happened.
Give up or something.
Yeah, or like everyone would think I was a failure if I was. It was more about like, what do other people think of me? And it was really like, if I thought about that, I definitely wouldn't have had the courage to go do this, because instead I was like, no, it doesn't matter what they think, and I need to come like, what do I think about this, and then decide that. And then I'm able to be like, if I fail, I'm not going to feel like I failed, and I'm still going to be okay. And if this acting thing doesn't work out, I have other plans, and I know that my family supports me no matter what I do. And I know that like at the end, I know that like no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. I will figure it out.
Die.
Yeah, I'm not going to die. I will figure it out. So that gives me so much freedom to really try things, because I don't have that judgment of myself. My parents aren't judging me in that way. And that has really protected me from outside judgments of people who don't know. And,
No, that's good. Yeah, that's a good skill to have, because I do think that is a skill that you can learn. Skill. Is there any final personal insights that you'd like to give to the audience about your journey that you think?
I think just a recap on, I think be open to trying things and really evaluate. Yeah, kind of. I think it's important to actively go out and do things that you're going to be new at, or you're, going to quote unquote fail at, to just really help you see that there's so many different things you could do, and kind of help build the confidence to go and try something new. And I think, just evaluating who's in your life, who's in your circle, who's uplifting you, who you're spending your time with, and just, kind of constantly, I mean, at least for me, I try to every few months just reevaluate where I'm at.
Yeah.
Do I want to be here? Is this a good spot? Where do I want to go next? Does something need to change? Because I think that has helped me so much in my life, as I'm constantly, kind of reviewing.
Reflecting.
Yeah, reflecting, definitely. And that's helped me get so far and really be clear. And I think also when you start doing that, you really take your life into your own hands and be like, this is my life. What do I want to do with it? Instead of just kind of listening to what other people, want you to do. Because everybody's going to want you to do something. And if you don't know what you want to do, or you don't kind of have guidelines, then you're just going to end up doing what other people want you to do. And you're going to have to become a person that you aren't, and you don't want to be, just to please other people. And I think it's just really important to, as much as you can, try and stay true to yourself, and hold firm, and find people that will help you hold firm. Because if I didn't have the people that I have, you
should just make a shirt that says
it'll be this too. This is
firm.
the face.
Firmly grasp it.
Yeah. So having those good people in your life, for sure. Because if I didn't have the family that I did, and the friends and those people, I definitely would have taken a different path, and I wouldn't have had the courage to go do this, and I wouldn't have been supported or encouraged to even try this. They would have been like, nope, not doing acting, that's not happening, that's not what your life is going to be like. And I think it's just great that I've been given the opportunity to, my whole life, to really decide what I want, and
to try.
I think just trying new things is so important.
I'm still amazed by how blessed you were to have a beautiful family like that, which I think is very important in the development of the future generations. You have to have a good family and support system. I was the opposite. I was I was raised by a single first generation Filipino mom, just trying to make ends meet, And I was just a rebel, and I said I'm gonna do whatever I want, regardless of what you say. So.
Well, I feel like that can be important. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean.
I had that mindset.
Yeah, well, my dad, his parents, I mean, it was kind of like that too, and I feel like at a certain point it's really, that was good for him because he did decide that he was going to go to college and go become a doctor, even though nobody had done that, and he wasn't going to, he really at the end of the day was like, this is my life, and this is what I'm going to go do, and I'm going to go try, and I'm not going to, stay here.
Fall victim, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like there are really just so many, there's just so many different avenues you can take, and I really feel like if he had not done that, his life, I mean, that would have changed how I was raised, and that would have changed where we lived and the experiences we've had.
Everything.
So literally everything. So I mean, just that fighting spirit too, and I think that's really why he does continue to tell me, like, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. It's your life, and you know yourself better than I do. And if this is something that you need to go do and you know this, I'm not going to be stopping you, and I'm not going to be the
and he
doesn't and he doesn't want me to be like, I ruined your life, or for me to tell him someday to be like, well, I always resented you because you didn't let me do this. And I feel like that is something we hold on to because we allow other people to move us. And then we're like 80 and we're like, well, I never got to do that thing I wanted to do because, my parents said this, or this one person was like, don't do that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to promote before we head off? Your movie that you're not allowed to do?
My movie? Yes, so I would say...
Your socials?
Yeah, if you would want to go check out my Instagram handle is Anna W Film, and that's where I post all my projects that I've done, give kind of audition insights, and you can kind of follow along with me as I go through this journey of seeing what auditions are like and callbacks and the process of everything. And I do have, some very exciting announcements coming soon. You can find me on Facebook under Maria Wright. And just if you want to follow along with my journey, I post a lot of inspirational, motivational quotes. That's definitely what you'll find, along with, just kind of getting the inside scoop on what it's like to be an actress. And I think also I give a unique perspective too, because I am, 19 and at a different phase than most people. But yeah, I do have some very exciting, secretive announcements coming soon for a feature film. So, yep.
So go check it out. Whoever's listening, go check her out. And as always, guys, share any insights with anybody who would like to hear them. And stay curious and keep going. Peace.